Welcome back to Speaking with Elvis podcast, a podcast of communication and mindset. This topic today is about mindset. We're not going to talk about communication today. We're going to dive into your mindset. And the topic, the theme of this episode is the power of perception, your perspective, the power of perception. I am going to start out this podcast, at least this topic, with the quote that I've heard from Dr. Dyer. When Dyer used to say that when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. I want to repeat that one more time so you can grasp the importance of this quote. When you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. You see, this is about the power of perception, how you look at things. So the way that you look at things can be either a problem or a solution to the thing. So I'm going to take an example a little bit in my past when I used to work in retail. So I used to work in retail, and particularly I used to work in a grocery store many years ago. So in that grocery store, we used to do a lot of things. We will be doing so much in that grocery store. And the grocery store is just like any work, right? You might feel a little bit not motivated because there's not really much happening there for a lot of people. But the way that I was looking at my job changed everything about me. For one, that job, we will be doing a lot of things. When we could be on the register, we could be breaking down pallet, we could be stocking the shelves. So when we were breaking down the pallet, for me, at that particular moment, I always considered that time as the workout time. It was the time for me to do my workout. And that thought has always been in my mind as long as I have been working at that job. So much so that when I quit that job, the very first month after I quit that job, I gained about possibly close to 10 pounds, literally. It wasn't a joke. So, which means when I was working at the store, I always thought that the moment every activity that I engage in that store, particularly when I would be breaking that pallet, those moments were the moment of exercise for me. And just keeping that in mind helped me to be able to keep in shape. And I was really in shape at that time because when I would be breaking that pallet, I'll be picking up boxes. And the way that I picked up boxes, it was as though I was doing some strength exercise. And in fact, it was working like magic. Again, because after I quit that job, I gained almost 10 pounds rapidly after just about a month. So just to give you an idea that the way you look at things could be helpful to you or not helpful. So I was looking at my job as an exercise. I was looking at my job as a place that I would be keeping in shape. And another aspect of that particular job, and it was the time that I wasn't as fluent in English as I am today. So, which means because it is the retail store, when we open, we have to be dealing with customers. We want to be answering questions, or if we are on the register, we will be checking people out. And when you check people on the register, of course, there's a time to have a conversation with them, chat with them on any particular topic. It could be about maybe the grocery matters, some of the things that they came for. And it could just be about a random subject that you guys, stopped. So for me, it was the place to practice my people skills and my communication skill, part of my communication skill, because I didn't speak English fluently yet. So I used that opportunity to be a place of practice for me. Since this is just something I want to say to those people who maybe in a new country have to speak a new language. Another way to be able to do that efficiently and to increase your level of communication in that language is to be able to find a job that puts you every single day with people, that you interact with people every day, because that would help you to be able to develop your skill of communication, of speaking that language fluently. And to be honest with you, that job has really helped me tremendously with my ability today to communicate. Of course, I improved my ability after I left that job, but it was the starting point for me. It was where I really started to be able to interact and communicate with people quite fluently, because you have to do it almost every day that you work. So for me, it was the walking ground. It was the exercising ground for my ability to communicate. So you see, when I would go to work, I would just think in my mind that this is the moment to go and actually work on my communication, work on how I improve my English, my speaking ability. So that's exactly how I used to look at that job. So it used to help me with my physicality and it helped me with my communication. Those are the things that helped me at that job, simply because I thought about seeing my job as the place of rehearsal, as a place of exercise, as a place of practice. So, and it became exactly so. So, which means when you change how you look at the situation itself changes. I'm going to take you another example. I think it's a story that some of you may have heard that story. There was a traveler going about town. He would just be going to a particular town. He comes across one person holding a hammer and breaking the rocks. And he asked that person, "What is that you doing?" The person said, "What do you think that I'm doing? I'm just breaking this rock." You see, the traveler continues his path. And down the road, he meets another person who doing the exact same thing, had a hammer and breaking on the rocks. And he said, "What is that you doing?" The person said that I am making a living here. And then the traveler continued the path. Down the road, he meets the third person. And when he asked, "What exactly that you do?" And the third person said, "I am being part of building a hospital for children. I am being part of building a cathedral for worship." You see, those three people are doing the exact same thing, but the meaning they attribute to what they do is absolutely different. So you see, among the three, only the last person has a great purpose, a great meaning in what he's doing. So he's doing something that is bigger than him. Therefore, he would find his job more interesting, more appealing, more purposeful. And it applies in how he approaches his job, how he approaches the people that he works with. So that's how we change the way we look at things. The things in itself is just the thing, right? But when we change how we look at things, it can either affect us in the negative way or it can affect us in the positive way. So that's the definition of the power of perception. When we change how we look at the situation itself changes. So we might not be looking at the problem, at the right vantage point. We might be looking it wrong. We might be close to a problem that we don't see any other way. So what if we can think about it as having a solution? Because any problem has a solution within. And there's another quote, I think from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, that says every difficulty, in every challenge, in every problem reside the seed of an equivalent benefit. I want to repeat that quote again. In every difficulties, any challenge, any problem reside the seed of an equivalent benefit, which means if you look at the problem, every problem has the potential for solution. In any situation, in any problem, there's a possibility of solution. There's a seed of an equivalent benefit. Almost everything, really. So the question is, when I've said this in the past, some people ask, so what do you think about death itself? What would you say? What could you really learn from when you lose somebody who's dear to you, a loved one? So you see, death is tragic, right? Yeah, and you might think that there is no lesson to learn from death itself, but there is. Because once you lose somebody that is closer to you, now you are quite in touch with morbid state. You know that you will die one day. You know that death can come at any moment. So when you are close to die, it gives you the sense of urgency. It gives you a sense of, not procrastinating anymore, to know that at any moment we can all leave this planet. So that's another lesson. It may not apply to the person who's already passed, but it would apply to you because you are the one looking at death. It's not the person who's already passed who's looking at death. It's you. What cannot teach you? So we are closer when we lose somebody that's closer to us. It could be a very dear person. Now we start to understand the reality of life, that life is short. We don't have to play it safe. You see, we can die on the bleachers. I used to listen to Les Brown. He used to always say that we can die on the bleachers or we might die on the field. We might as well get on the field and have some play before we die. So when we are faced with death, when somebody closer to us dies, now we are very conscious of our own mortality, right? So which means we can die at any time. It can happen to us. So which means the things that we were procrastinating in the past, now we give it priority. Now the things that we used to just waste time doing things that would not move us to that next level of life or to not really enrich us, we put a little bit of agency or priority to that thing. So that's the reason why death itself is not the end of its own. It is a lesson to learn. So which means in every situation, when we look at it, when we search for it, we would find it really. Especially the idea is to be able to be aware of that. When we are aware of the fact that no matter what is happening, there is a solution. No matter what is happening, there is the seed of an equivalent benefit. Now we start to look at it when something arises, maybe a problem arises, difficulties surfaces. So we start to look for, what does this supposed to teach me? What lesson can I learn from it? What good can come out of this situation? Because when we start to look at it, now we will find it. We go to the things that call the reticular activating system. Now, this is the system in our brain that says when we focus on one thing, we start to see things in our environment and our universe. We start to scan things to bring us that which we are thinking about. It's called the reticular activating system. Now, I'm going to give you an example of that is, so when you go to buy a car, for instance, you get into the car shop, you look at different cars, maybe you zero in on one that you love very much, that you think would fit exactly that which you are looking for. Now, you may not have seen this car on the road, or you just saw it in the lot, and you realize that it's a beautiful car. It does fulfill exactly your need. Now you buy that car. The moment that you exit the lot, you start to see other cars on the street of the same kind. So what does that really means? It doesn't mean that all of a sudden the car started to appear from nowhere. No, that's not what it means. It means that because you have zero in on that particular car, now your brain focuses on that car, that particular car. That's why your reticular activating system is scanning the environment and bringing to you the things of the same kind that which you have in your head. So that's an example of trying to look at the good in any situation. When you are aware that good can come out of any situation, it can come out of losing your job, it can come out of maybe losing a relationship, it can come out of even becoming sick. There's always something to learn about any situation, and it is in knowing that there's always a good in any situation that we can actually find the good. We can go our brain can go to work to find that good because we are aware of it. We become focused of it. Our reticular activating system started to scan our environment to bring the good because we are looking for the good. It doesn't matter what that is. So when we start to shift that thinking, when we start to shift that understanding, now we no longer bind by what happened. We no longer held captive by the situation that is happening, the problem that has arisen. So now we can start to look for ways. We can shift our focus. We can shift where we are looking at the problem and maybe see trade at a different vantage point and we'll be looking at the problem from the different angle. We might just see something a little bit different about the problem and we might just see the beginning of the solution. That's the power of your perception, the way you look at things. It's when you look at things, when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. Think about that understanding. Simmer, really let it, just marshal it in your head a little bit and see the verity, the truthfulness of that statement. It is true. And it oftentimes that after we have overcome a situation that we, in hindsight, we turn back and realize it wasn't really that bad. Maybe I had to be fired from my job to be able to work on my dream. I have to be able to lose that relationship that wasn't good for me to be able to find the one that really is the one that is my one, right? So I have to maybe become sick to that level to be able to see the importance of staying healthy, of eating healthy and exercising consistently. I have to just look at it differently. Whether you are, I took an example of the job that I had and other example of the traveler. So now, what if the job that you are actually working on now, maybe it's not an enticing job, it's not a fun job, you don't feel energized about the job. But what if you can change how you look at that job? You see, it doesn't matter what that is. So when you start to think of it as being part of something that is bigger than you, now you start to change the relationship with that job. You start to change the meaning of what you do, and it has a purpose. And when something has a meaning and purpose, it gives it a different dimension. We look at it differently. It gives us vitality, it gives us energy, it gives us motivation. So we are happy to go do it because now it's no longer about just me doing the job. It's me contributing to something that is bigger than me, that is more powerful than me. So you start to see it doesn't matter the job. You can be a janitor or you can be a street sweeper. And then if you think of your job as being part of beautifying the city with your skill, with your abilities, now you see that job stop being just a task that you do. It becomes a mission, in fact, that you go every day to make this town a beautiful town. If you are a street a sweeper, for instance, now when you change it, you'll be like you are responsible to make this looks beautiful, to make this look wonderful. So you see, you're no longer just going to do a task, you're going for a mission. You're going for something purposeful. And now it changes even how you feel about yourself. You feel yourself important. You feel now you are actually, your skill is indispensable in this situation. Now that's how you change the way you look at things, for the things that you look at to change. This was the power of perception, your perspective in life. Once again, thank you for tuning in Speaking with Elvis podcast, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.